So first of all, I think Dr. Bansi, although Dr. Hemant told, Dr. Dakshita told much about him, and I have no words to tell that what Dr. Bansi is doing for the upliftment of health sector as far as the diabetes is concerned in this country, and it will have a long impact in days to come. So we will see. So I am really thankful to him for giving this and a very unique talk. Do have all the answers for SGLT2 inhibitors in heart failure. So this is always being asked, and especially the two trials. I think remarkable trial this year, Emperor reduced and previous years DAPA-HF. They have changed the whole scenario in our thinking about heart failure and other things. It is well known to all of us that it is a very leading cause of hospitalization, and the patients with heart failure are at high risk of disease progression, including this hospital admissions, advanced therapies, and death. So they experience high burden of debilitating symptoms. I think already this was shown. Staging of the heart failure, I will not repeat, neither I will going to, but this is very important. How to screen and diagnose for the heart failure, this is important, that we should clinically suspect heart failure by risk factors, symptoms, ECG, and whenever available, you must go for this at least anti-pro-BNP, I think is a better one, and then we perform the echocardiography with tissue Doppler and determine the etiology and provide evidence-based care. So this is just for basis. But what is the problem here, that the CV is the leading cause of death among people with diabetes. You can see here more than two-thirds of people with diabetes, if it age more than 65 years or older, becomes a leading cause. And this Indian population, Indian data is there, that despite advanced treatment modalities and better medicines, CVD risk is constantly rising in our country. You can see here in the male and female both being shown. So the heart failure was the first manifestation of type 2 diabetic related CV disease, and more often than MI or stroke. And this has been shown by this. You can see here after this paired HF 14.1% in this cohort, you can see that the peripheral arterial disease, this peripheral vascular disease, and this heart failure were the two most common. And then comes this myocardial infarction or CB or CVD. So this is again a very important point here, that this is a very, very important issue. As far as this topic is concerned, do we have the answers for this SGLT2 inhibitors in heart failure? Let us see what are the goals of care in heart failure. Our goal is to prevent heart failure from developing in high-risk patients, number one. And in patients that already have established heart failure, you reduce the death and hospital admissions, and then our goal is to improve health status of symptom burden, physical limitations, and quality of life. That is very important. So if you are achieving your goal, all these goals, by using these SGLT2 inhibitors, I think we can say that we have found the answer. But let us see what is the story is telling in this year. I will not go in all details, but there are many positive trials that has been shown here for the heart failure reduced ejection fraction. Everyone has contributed, but recently this DAPA-HF trial and my topic which has been given with the DAPA-HF and Emperor reduced, this was in the 2021 which was presented, so I will talk about that. Most important thing to understand that what choices we have in the heart failure. If you see the three drugs are fantastic, four I say, the ACE or ARBs, beta blockers, MRA, and neprilysin inhibitors and SGLT2 inhibitors. And apart from that, some recent trials told something about the ivabradine or this new from the Victoria trial. This also is in focus, but basically to understand that the MRA comes from the RELS and the Emphasis HF, and these are some trials showing for the importance of beta blocker. This Paradigm HF trial and SGLT2 inhibitors, today we are well aware that the two trials are important, that is one is DAPA-HF and second is Emperor. reduced. So let us see what is the story. Many mechanisms have been discussed and also shown by our previous speaker, but this is an interesting slide from a very renowned, I will show his face later on, uh, speaker and researcher. He says that the proposed mechanism of actions of SGLT inhibitors in heart failure, do they work in heart failure by preventing cardiac glucotoxicity? Answer is no. Do they exert their benefits in heart failure by acting as diuretics? Answer is no. Do they improve cardiac function by promoting myocardial ketone body utilization? Answer is no. And do they improve heart failure because they increase hemoglobin? The answer is no. So what is the answer? Well, this is a recent, published recently. Shows the all the things which we are discussing, how this inhibition is doing the increase in urinary sodium and glucose excretion and glucagon or insulin ratio increasing. Here, then lipolysis happening and improved glycemic control leading to weight loss. And this is how you are getting increase in hematocrit and by diuresis and some reduced plasma volume and improved endothelial function, some reduction in BP, a reduction in ventricular preload, improved ventricular loading conditions. So these are things which are happening, and this was also shown how this decreased severity of heart failure occurs if you are using SGLT inhibitor. This is an important one, that from the heart, kidney, vasculature or the whole body, lots of things are happening when you are using SGLT inhibitors. By improved energy metabolism, decreased NLRP3 inflammation, improved cardiac remodeling, decreased ischial diffusion injury, and many other things. But remember, even what is happening with the vasculature, what is happening with the kidney, all are going to lead to decreased severity of the heart failure. So many things are happening. I think the new concept is coming that well, the SGLT inhibitors were designed to cause caloric wasting in the urine. Inhibition of SGLT lead to renal glycosuria. We know then the marked loss of calories in urine and gluconeogenesis. And then here comes in picture activation of serotonin 1 and downstream effectors. And this is a new thing coming, that as a signal for nutrient deprivation, serotonin 1 is the major mechanism of enhanced gluconeogenesis here, increased ketogenesis. So ultimately you see here that there is reduction of oxidative stress and organelle dysfunction, suppression of pro-inflammatory pathways, activation of autophagy, that leads to cardioprotection and nephroprotection. So I think this is an exciting thing which is coming up. So I will just in short tell about these two trials, DAPA-HF, all new concepts, and a new vista which brought by the Emperor Reduced trial. So let us see the DAPA-HF trial. You might have seen this slide many times, that that was an enrollment. There was this was you can see here in the placebo group, or here is the total number of patients, and median follow-up was also 18.2 months and more than 844 primary endpoints, that was composite of CV death, HF hospitalization and urgent HF visit. So this was how done. But here you can see here that these are the things where in the DAPA group this one matching was quite impressive. Everything NYHA class or median NT or pro BNP or ischemic etiology or mean GFR or prior diagnosis of type 2 percentage or any baseline type 2 percentage. So this was quite good. Baseline treatment, you see, I would like to focus you here that in DAPA group also this drug, which is also a very important drug in the heart failure today, the ARNI, that was in 11% it was used, and also in placebo group it was 11% in cases of this trial it was used. And you can see here the primary composite outcome, when even I told you that only in 11% the ARNI was used. So in many cases ARNI was not used, still it led to 26% reduction of CV death, HF hospitalization and urgent HF visit. So this is quite impressive. And if you see the components of primary outcome, like worsening of heart failure events, it was 30% risk reduction, and in the cardiovascular death, it was something to the tune of 18%. So again, it is very important. And if you see the all-cause death, this was also quite interesting to note here. But the quality of life, if you see, the Kansas City cardiomyopathy questionnaire is quite a standard thing, and total symptom scores is known as TSS, change from baseline to 8 months. And if you see in the DAPA group, that was plus 6.1, and placebo group was plus 3.2, so it was quite to having 2.8 points. Significance, the p-value you can see here. So it was quite, it brought, I think, quality of life in a much better way. So is the benefit of DAPA with or without diabetes? What is the story? So effect of DAPA on worsening of heart failure and cardiovascular death in patients with heart failure and with or without diabetes. You can see this was one of the very eye-opener trial, I will say, that treatment effects even when there was no diabetes. I think it brought a very, very impressive results. So the first time, I think this established in some way that this even patient is not having diabetes in heart failure, this must be used. So treatment effect on the primary endpoint by diabetes status, you can see it was almost in tune of here, the HR is 0.75 if the patient having diabetes, and if there was no diabetes, it was in tune of 0.73. So where is what the almost similar you can see. So now the question comes, well, in heart failure, you are giving ACE inhibitors, you are using beta blockers, you are using MRA, or already hernia, and then what is the use of giving this DAPA or EMPA in such cases? So is there any additive benefit? That is a very important question. If you see in the DAPA-HF trial itself, whether you using the diuretics, MRA, digoxin, hernia, or ivabradine, I think the DAPA did much better from the placebo. It is quite clear from this graph. So primary background, even with the ACE or ARB or beta blocker or ICD or CRT, and if the DAPA was given, this did marvelous job. This is quite clear from this. So many times the question is being asked, what is the role of early disease when the DAPA is there? So you can see here that even the early was not given, the DAPA gliflozin is doing a marvelous job again. So this is again, this giving some signal what is the issues that we will discuss. Now in your mind might be that if you are using, especially the cardiologists have some inertia with the SGLT2 inhibitors while using in non-diabetics heart failure. I have seen it, and many of you might have been seen that in issues there's lots of they think that this is not a safe drug, or what are the issues. So although this shows from the DAPA-HF, the adverse effect from the DAPA group or the placebo group, you can see here, even in the here diabetic ketoacidosis, you can see in the DAPA was only 0.1, and here the major hypo, you can see other things, but see here that in diabetes or in no diabetes, or if you see the adverse effects of interest by per se here, you can see that diabetic ketoacidosis was 0 here in the diabetic groups and even the non-diabetic groups. And amputation you can see here, renal adverse effects and fracture. So I think it is not a big issue these days. So what DAPA-HF has brought to the medical science? This has shown clearly when added to a standard therapy, this reduced dapagliflozin in DAPA-HF reduced the risk of worsening of heart failure events and cardiovascular death and improved symptoms in patients with heart failure reduced ejection fractions with or without diabetes. It is a very important line. Everything has been summarized here, that the relative and the absolute risk reductions in death and hospitalization were substantially clinically important and consistent in patients with and without diabetes. So DAPA was well tolerated and the rate of treatment discontinuation was low in patients with or without type 2 diabetes. And so DAPA offers a new approach to the treatment of reduced ejection fraction in patients with or without diabetes. So I think DAPA story is quite clear here. Now let us see about the Emperor reduced. So effect of EMPA or cardiovascular and renal events in heart failure with a reduced ejection fraction, that was Emperor reduced trial. This shows the primary outcomes and secondary outcomes. Let us see here a double blind trial with, or again the here again important point is with and without type 2 diabetes. Half did not have diabetes. And then this was the second large scale trial of SGLT inhibitors in patients with a reduced ejection fraction, and DAPA-HF previously reported positive results with DAPA, but Emperor reduced trial studied many patients with more advanced disease. So this is again important here that Emperor reduced trial studied more patients with more advanced disease. And what did it show? You see here. So again you see here the effect on the cardiovascular death or hospitalization for heart failure. There was 25% reduction in the risk. Quite impressive. With quite a important p-value, you can see here 0.0001. And if you see the composite renal endpoints, it was 50% reduction in the risk. Marvelous. So this trial has major implications for clinical practice today. This has reduced trial with empagliflozin, and when considered together with the results from the DAPA-HF, will have a major impact on the management of patients with chronic heart failure and a reduced ejection fraction whether or not they have diabetes. SGLT2 inhibitors have clinically important benefits, are given once daily. No require, you know that they require no dose adjustment, well tolerated, and now there is compelling evidence that SGLT inhibitors should now be added to currently recommended treatments for this disease. So what are the major impacts by DAPA-HF and Emperor reduced? You see here, this is well summarized here, both trials. You can see the worsening on the heart failure from the DAPA and the Emperor. I will not repeat it, but just have a scan over this. The primary events of CV, that 8% relative reduction with the Emperor reduced. HHF 31%, HHF for CV that 25% with significant p-values in the same way. So this trial is again from the renal point also. I told you that it was 50% relative risk reduction is not a joke. So this is giving a very big signal the great drugs we have. Then let us discuss this very important paper which was first published on the 21st of March this year itself, the meta-analysis of comparing the effects of combined use of SGL2 and ARNI with comparing with the monotherapy with the ARNI. This DAPA-HF trial showed no significant difference in the cardiovascular death or hospitalization for the heart failure between the SGL2 inhibitors plus ARNI group and ARNI monotherapy group. This is quite clear that in both cohorts, with ARNI or without ARNI, DAPA-HF showed no significant difference in tune of cardiovascular death or HHF. But in Emperor-HF trial demonstrated a significant reduction in primary outcome when the SGL2 inhibitors was added with the ARNI group. So here it differs. So pulled, you can see here. So my point is just point to highlight this point. Okay, how this DAPA-HF and Emperor-HF, what is the bit difference here that which if you see here, the point is emerging is even that both drugs when were added, they did a better job. So without any that did it, this is other trials also showing with diabetes or without diabetes. Without diabetes we have DAPA-HF and Emperor. With diabetes we have Emperor-HF and soloist WHF trial is also shown very impressive results. So if you see this compare with ARNI in the heart failure with reduced ejection fraction, you can see here very well that the SGL2 inhibitors could safely reduce cardiovascular death or hospitalization for the heart failure in reduced ejection fraction regardless of diabetes status, and with ARNI demonstrates similar effects, while combination of SGL2 inhibitors and ARNI results in a better cardiovascular prospective effect. protective effect. So this point from this meta-analysis is emerging. But the effect of both the trials that led to the new ESC guidelines, European Society of Cardiology guidelines, and now we are thinking the concept of sequential therapy in the heart failure that first use ARNI, then this use beta blockers, and then you add the MRA, and then you add the SGLT inhibitors, whether it is valid or not in 2021, that is a big question. This shows a drugs for management of, there are so many drugs we have, apart from the diuretics, beta blockers, MRA, neprilysin inhibitors, or here ARBs and SGLT inhibitors, and there was a sequential thinking, and still there it is going on, when to use. So I will see that new HF guidelines, where are this now positioned? This is an important point. So if you see the American College of Cardiology updated guidelines of 2021, they clearly say that a beta blocker and the ARB or S inhibitors or angio receptor, this ARNI should be started in any order. Then it should be titrated to maximally tolerated or a target dose, and inhibition of a beta blocker is better tolerated when patients are dry, and the ARB ARNI when patients are wet. So remember, if the patient is dry, not having edema, then beta blockers is doing better. But if the patient is wet, they say that this works much better. So this is the guideline. Only guideline recommended beta blockers should be used. That is this one. This is but should be used. And among angiotensin antagonists, ARNI are preferred agents, and renal function and potassium should be checked within 1 to 2 weeks of initiation or dose up titration of ACE inhibitors. This is, I'm not going details of all these diuretics, but this is how we use or we treat heart failure. After initiation of beta blockers, an angiotensin antagonist, addition of an aldosterone antagonist should be considered. This is the sequential way of treating with close monitoring of electrolytes. So they position SGLT inhibitors. They say from the American College of Cardiology that SGLT inhibitors should also be considered for heart failure reduced ejection fraction with NYHA class 2 to 4 patients. This is quite clear, they say here. And this I can leave. No, so but other things are there. But remember that there has been lots of change from the ESC guidelines. You can see the date here. They say in the 2019 that for prevention, treatment of type 2 diabetes, but treatment of heart failure, it was across here. But things have changed now. They conclude that currently available data suggests that DAPA could be, this is last year article, that should be considered in the treatment of heart failure reduced ejection fraction with or without diabetes. So this is what is happening, and you are well aware that after this DAPA approval, recently this on the August 18, 2021, this US FDA this approved the EMPA to treat adults living with heart failure with reduced ejection fraction. The story is quite clear here, and you are well aware how this evolution of things happened from preclinical, clinical to detectable cardiac involvement, lots of trial. But this year we all have, now we have DAPA-HF, we have DELIVER, we have Emperor Preserved, Reduced, and Soloist WHF. So these trials have totally changed the thinking and the concept of heart failure treatment with diabetes, or I will say that without diabetes. So this is very, very important message in 2021 we can say. And you are well aware that when we think about the 5 pillars of therapy, we have this ACE-ARB, neprilysin inhibitors, beta blocker, this shown MRA, and the SGLT inhibitors. But my point is that SGLT inhibitors reduces heart failure horizon across broad range of ejection fraction. That is quite important thing. So this, out of those fantastic 4, the totality of evidence now suggests that patients with heart failure reduced ejection fraction should be treated early. And what you should do, you combine the 4 drugs. and that is ERNI. You also use beta blockers, MRA, and SGLT2 inhibitors. Uh, these provide incremental benefit with marked reduction in all cause of mortality, cardiovascular mortality, and all cause hospital admissions, and that is from the heart failure. So remember that recently the SGLT2 inhibitors from the DAPA or from this EMPA showed a highly significant and clinically relevant reduction in mortality and heart failure hospitalization and improvement of quality of life when added to current standard drugs in patients with heart failure reduced ejection fraction. So this should not be any doubt today that if you are already using all these drugs 1, 2, 3, and then what is the benefit you are getting from the SGLT2 inhibitors, that it has been quite clear today that everything improves even after adding this. So the question remains that whether the nominally standard heart failure drugs treatment in the SGLT2 inhibitors trial correspond to a real modern guideline directed medical therapy. So both you are well aware that both in the DAPA-HF and in the reduced, the majority of patients received a combination of ACE inhibitors, beta blockers, and MRA. Only 10.7% of patients enrolled, that is 11% in tune of DAPA-HF, were treated with ERNI. So the benefit of DAPA on the primary endpoint of cardiovascular death or worsening of heart failure and the secondary endpoints was identical whether patients were getting ERNI or not. So this is a very valid point which I am repeating again and again. So in this trial 19.5% of patients in the EMPEROR reduced, there was 11%. Here in EMPEROR reduced, 19.5% where patients received this ERNI at baseline. And there was a remarkable reduction of the primary endpoint, and secondary endpoint of total heart failure hospitalization was similar, whether you were using ERNI or not from the baseline. So this is again a very important thing coming up. Also in secondary renal endpoints that was supported by analysis of composite of very serious adverse renal outcomes was markedly reduced in patients treated both without this ERNI. So meta-analysis of DAPA-HF, I am talking from the meta-analysis of a DAPA-HF and EMPEROR reduced, showing the patients treated with an ERNI derive at least the same benefit from additional SGLT2 inhibitor treatment as patients not on an ERNI. So hazard ratio for all the primary and the key secondary endpoints all tended to be even smaller in patients on ERNI if you compare with the patient without ERNI. So current analysis goes far beyond the initial report and includes correction for important covariates and baseline differences. So these points are quite important. So in clinical practice, what you get if you are using all fantastic four? This is according to an elegant analysis by this author in 2020, a four-drug strategy in a 55 years old HFrEF patients, that you get additional gain of 8.3 years free from cardiovascular disease or first heart failure hospital admissions. And you get 6.3 additional years of survival compared with or often used conventional combination of ACE inhibitors and beta blockers. An older patient derives substantial benefit, again a very important point, and the additive effect of SGLT2 inhibition on top of an already optimized background, a triple neurohormonal blockade, the hazard ratio for primary endpoint was 0.70 as compared with the 0.74 in patients with or without ERNI. So these things you will get if you are using all these. But now the question comes, with so much solid evidence, where to go from this place? Whether the science is clear on that or not. So important question relates to the timing of drug initiation. We do have 4 standard drugs to offer to our patients as default strategy with remarkable improvement of survival, hospitalization rates, symptoms and quality of life. We can offer a bunch of additional drugs as well as variety of interventional and device therapy today. While traditionally additional drugs were only started in stable outpatient with heart failure reduced ejection fraction, now the Pioneer HF trial nicely showed that this ERNI started early after a decompensation was associated with a significantly stronger reduction of anti-pro-BNP values and of exploratory composite endpoints of death, heart failure and rehospitalization. So this is again important thing to understand. So clinical practice updates of, if you see this, my last few slides, that clinical practice update of the European Society of Cardiology Heart Failure, that is the HFA, giving a very solid insight that you see here. They say that initiation of ARNI rather than ACE inhibitors may be considered. Remember, from they are saying that you leave the ACE inhibitors and better you choose ARNI, and may be considered for patients hospitalized with new onset heart failure. So straightforward, you start from here, or decompensated chronic heart failure to reduce the short-term effect of adverse effects and to simplify management. In the SGLT inhibitor trials, they say, the HFA says, the treatment effect emerged quickly with the curve diverging within the first month. And such early effects have similarly been observed with the SGLT inhibitors sotagliflozin in the SOLOIST WHF trial and randomized patients with type 2 diabetes after recent observation for worsening of heart failure. So similar things was shown in that. So substantial benefit occurs early after randomization regarding the primary endpoint of cardiovascular death, total hospitalization, and urgent visits for the heart failure. So I think now the things have become very clear today, what should be done. You can see here from the HFA the summary, and I think this is a very important slide, the summary of the 2021, what you should do. So now what we are telling about the sequential therapy of guideline directed therapy, they say that this approach is downplayed, number one. The second point, they are saying that the four foundational drug classes are, that is ACE, ARNI, beta blockers, MRA, and SGLT inhibitors along with diuretics.
Sorry to disturb you, sir. I request you to conclude. We are completing as far as the time.
I'm just the last slide I'm showing. So my conclusions are from the 2016, 2020 to 2021. You can see here this is my last slide, that taken together, the results derived from a considerable number of patients with ARNI pre-treatment now provide fundamental evidence that physicians caring for patients with heart failure disease patients should not consider prescribing either an ARNI or SGLT inhibitors, but rather both therapeutic principles in combination as a default strategy. So they reduced CV death, they give you the full picture, the full house, reduce hospitalization for heart failure, improve symptom burden. So Dr. Milton Packer told that we need to stop referring to SGLT inhibitors as anti-diabetic or glucose lowering drugs, and we need to start referring to SGLT inhibitors as cardioprotective and nephroprotective drugs. Thank you.